All right, let's talk about one of the most explosive parts of the new economy, user-generated content. You've probably heard the term UGC thrown around, right? Well, this isn't just about selfies and unboxing videos anymore. It's become a massive industry that is completely changing the game for how brands connect with, well, all of us.
This quote right here just hits the nail on the head. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you bought something, or booked a vacation, or even just tried a new coffee shop without checking the reviews first? I bet you did. We all do. That right there, that's the power of social proof. And it's the engine that makes the entire world of UGC go round. And if you're thinking this is just some little niche trend, you gotta see this number. According to Goldman Sachs, the creator economy is on track to be worth nearly $500 billion by 2027. Let that sink in. $500 billion. That's the kind of value being placed on real, authentic, human-made content. It's a huge deal. So, to really get our heads around this whole ecosystem, we're going to break it down from two different angles. First, we'll look at it from the brand's perspective, the companies that are hungry for all this content. And then we're going to flip it and look at it from the creator side, the people on the ground actually making it all happen.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for brands. UGC isn't just a cool, trendy thing to do, it's a serious performance driver. The data is super clear on this. Ads that use authentic user-generated content get, on average, 4 times higher click-through rates than those old-school polished ads. 4 times. And why is that? It's simple, really. At the end of the day, we trust other people way more than we trust a corporate logo.
So that brings us to the million-dollar question for any marketer or small business owner out there. How do you actually tap into this? How do you find the right creators who can make content that really, truly connects with your audience? Well, the answer is these dedicated UGC platforms. The easiest way to think of them is like matchmaking services that connect brands with awesome vetted creators. So for instance, if you need the whole shebang, from script writing to getting the final video optimized, you'd probably check out Billo. If your main goal is just to quickly get content for your paid social ads, Incense is going to be your go-to. Need some absolutely stunning product photos? Trend is amazing for that. And for the bigger e-commerce stores that have to manage thousands of pieces of content, a platform like Flowbox uses AI to do the heavy lifting. It's a total powerhouse. Okay, now let's flip the script. Let's talk about the other side of the coin. What if you're the one who wants to create all this amazing content? The absolute best part about UGC is that you don't need 1 million followers to get started. Nope. In fact, brands are actively looking for that real, authentic, creative vibe, not just a giant audience. Seriously, if you've got a good eye, a smartphone, and a little bit of passion, you're already halfway there. But the big question is, where do you start? How do you take that potential and turn it into a killer portfolio that actually gets you hired? It really just boils down to these 4 steps. First, just start making stuff. Use the products you already have and love to create a few sample videos. This shows brands you've got the skills before they even hire you. Second, pick a niche. It's way more powerful to be the go-to person for skincare than a generalist. It makes it so much easier for the right brands to find you. Third, clean up your social media. Make sure your profiles look professional, because let's be honest, they're your digital resume now. And finally, network. Go find some creator communities online. It is by far the best way to get real-world advice and maybe even land your first gig. Okay, so once you start landing those gigs, the whole thing starts to change. It's not just a creative hobby anymore. It's a professional business relationship. And this right here is where a lot of new creators get tripped up. We have to talk about the business side of things, and that starts with contracts. I can't stress this enough. Making informal deals in your DMs or over a quick email is just asking for trouble. A real contract isn't just a bunch of legal mumbo-jumbo. It's the roadmap for the entire project. It protects both you and the brand by making sure everyone is crystal clear on what's being made, how it's going to be used, and, most importantly, how and when you're going to get paid. You got to remember, every UGC deal is basically a negotiation. On one side, the brand is usually looking for things like broad usage rights, some exclusivity so you don't work with their biggest competitor next week, and ownership of the final content. But on your side, as the creator, you have different needs. You need super clear payment terms, you need credit for your work, and you need a really well-defined scope of work so that 2-video deal doesn't magically turn into 10 videos. A good contract finds that sweet spot in the middle. So when you get that contract in your inbox, these are the 4 clauses you need to zoom in on. First, ownership and usage rights. This is the big one. This determines if a brand can use your video on TikTok for a month or if they can put it on a billboard in Times Square forever, and the price tag should definitely reflect that difference. Second, payment terms. Is it half upfront, net 30? This is what makes sure you get your money on time. Third, exclusivity. Be really careful here because a broad clause could stop you from working with a whole category of brands for a year or even more. And finally, termination. What happens if things go south? This clause gives everyone a clean exit strategy. All right, you've done the amazing creative work, you've navigated the contract, and you're finally getting paid. We're done, right? Woohoo! Not quite. Now we have to talk about the part that everyone wants to forget, but absolutely no one should. Taxes. Here's the deal. As a UGC creator, you're not an employee. You are, for all intents and purposes, running a small business. And that means you're on the hook for paying self-employment tax. Since you don't have a boss withholding taxes from your paycheck, you have to pay both the employee and the employer parts of Social Security and Medicare yourself. But hey, being a business has its perks, and one of the biggest ones is deductions. You can write off your ordinary and necessary business expenses, which lowers the amount of income you have to pay taxes on. We're talking about stuff like a portion of your rent for a home office, your subscriptions to Adobe or Canva, any new gear like cameras and microphones, and even travel you do for a shoot. Seriously, keeping track of these can save you a ton of money. So as we wrap this up, it's pretty clear that UGC is this really complex, but also incredibly exciting world for both brands and creators. And it leaves us with one final big thought to chew on. As artificial intelligence gets better and better at creating content out of thin air, will the authentic, kind of messy, and truly human stories that UGC tells become the most valuable asset of all? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us.